Hi, it's Jack Woodruff from verticaljumping.com, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the front squat. Now, there are a lot of strength and conditioning coaches who actually believe the front squat is perhaps the best version of a squat for athletes to do. It's certainly a lot of strength and conditioning coaches think it's one of the best ones for increasing your vertical jump, and the reason for that is that it tends to overload the quads a lot more than, say, a back squat. So I'll talk to you a little bit about why that is and the differences between a front squat and a back squat, and then I'll show you a few tips and techniques for doing a front squat, because one of the downsides to the front squat is that a lot of people find it actually quite difficult to do. So, with a back squat, one of the main differences is when you do a back squat with the bar at the back, it tends to push you forward a little bit. So your angle of your torso is slightly more forward. When you're front squatting, you're leaning forward a little bit more. What that does, that engages the glutes. Now with a front squat, with the weight at the front, it tends to keep your torso in a more upright position, which that is why the quads get involved. And that's really the main difference from a biomechanics standpoint between the two, but it's a key difference. With vertical jumping, the quads do come into play quite a lot, particularly 2-foot jumping or just a standing vertical jump test. Now, when doing the front squat, I'll set a bar up, we'll use it. You should rest the bar on the meat of the shoulders. You should also have your elbows up before you unrack the bar. So, you'll get under the weight. So given there, I've got the bar resting on my shoulders. Now, as you can see, I have a lot of trouble getting my elbows into an upright position. Now that is because I lack the flexibility, and also I have a long forearm in relation to my upper arm. And this is where a lot of people run into problems with the front squat. But we'll give it a best shot. So the bar is resting on my deltoids, elbows up, and that's how I rack the bar. So keeping my elbows up as best I can. And really. Now, for someone like me who's not particularly flexible in the shoulders and also does have a longer forearm, that is not particularly comfortable to do. The other thing is, when you do have a little bit of weight on the bar, it does get to be quite sore on the wrists. Now, you can overcome that by working on your flexibility, doing some stretching and mobility work, or you can try different methods to lift the bar. And I'll show you now a couple of different ways that you can do the front squat. So if you are like me, have the flexibility issues or have a longer forearm, you can still use this lift in your training and still get the benefits of doing it. Now the obvious alternative method is the crossed arms method. This takes away a lot of those issues with the flexibility because you're just crossing your arms, and same deal, you wrap the bar on the meat of the deltoids, but you use your arms like that to hold it upright. This is commonly used by a lot of bodybuilders. The bar is wrapped on the deltoid in a centre position. And that is a much more comfortable lift for me. So if I was doing front squats without any special equipment, that is how I would do them. Now, one of the problems with that is that, again, when you start to get a little bit more load on the bar, it does tend to dig into the shoulders a little bit, just the weight of the bar, because essentially you're supporting the load on just two small points on your shoulders. Now with a back squat, you've got the whole bar resting across your back, so there's a bigger surface area to support the weight, which is why you can generally lift a bit more weight with the back squat. And it's easier to get involved with the glutes, etc. So there are things you can do to overcome that little issue. One of which is the use of a pair of lifting straps. Now these are just plain old lifting straps. You can buy them for about $10 a pair. And what you do is you just simply loop them over the bar like this, pull it tight, and this is also another way to overcome that flexibility issue of the forearm issue I had before. Because what you do is same deal, you rack the bar on your shoulders and you pull up with the straps. I'll straighten it up, should have done it before. Now, the advantage of doing it that way with the lifting straps is you can actually apply a force upwards, and that helps take some of the pressure off the shoulders. So it's quite a good way to do it, and a lot of people do front squats that way. Now, another alternative is for an investment of about 30 or 40 bucks, you can buy a Stingray front squat device. Now the Stingray works just like the Manta Ray, which is a very good back squat device. You clip it onto the bar like that, and you line it up to your shoulders, and what that does, it increases the surface area. I'll get that more in the middle. Increases the surface area upon which the weight is resting across your shoulders, which makes it more comfortable to do. So same deal, lock it into your deltoids, lift it up, and away you go. Now that's the Stingray device, and that's actually a very good way to do front squats, and for many years that was the way I did it. It was very comfortable to do compared to some of the other methods, and the Stingray device itself is actually pretty cheap. Now there's one other way you can do it, and that is using one of these bad boys. Now this is a little bit more heavy duty. This is actually from Get Strength, New Zealand company, and it's a front squat harness. Now this is a very heavy duty piece of equipment, and it takes away all the issues in that you don't actually have to hold the bar so much. It just sits nicely in there, and you can actually use a lot more weight using the Get Strength harness. However, the Get Strength harness is 200 New Zealand dollars, so it's obviously not going to be something that the majority of athletes are going to use. If you're like me and you have a sort of training business, then it's fine. Or if you genuinely love front squatting and want to use it, it might be worth investing in. The other thing with front squats, and this may be worth noting, is it's much easier on your lower back than the back squats. And remember before, we're talking about back squatting like that versus front squatting like that, where you have the different torso angles. Maintaining a more upright torso is in fact easier on the lower back. So that's one of the other big advantages of the front squat. Also, you generally use a lighter weight, so again it's going to be easier on your lower back. So if you do have lower back issues and you're looking for a good way to squat, the front squat's a great alternative, and it's one of the reasons I actually started front squatting was that I had lower back issues, and I don't have any of the same problems front squatting as I do back squatting. But back to the Get Strength front squat harness. This will allow you to use heavier loads because you generally don't have that same issue of trying to find a comfortable position to hold the bar in, because this thing really distributes the load across a bigger surface area, and these metal bars aren't going anywhere. So, or you can use this method, which is what I like to do. This keeps the bar up and helps keep your torso more upright by putting your arms up. So, there you go. There's a couple of different ways that you can do the front squat. It is a great exercise. It is one of my favourite versions of squatting. If you saw my recent squat video, I do like the safety squat version the most, but the front squat's a great version. If you're looking for a few tips and tricks on how to do it better, you've certainly got a few ideas from this video. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Good luck in your training. See you next week.